Hi, thanks for joining us for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. I'm Chris Cooper. Last week we showed you how to prune an apple tree. This week we'll prune a peach tree. Also, cabbage is a delicious way to add fiber and vitamin C to your diet. Today we're going to talk about growing it. That's just ahead on the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Joining me today is Mike Dennison. Mr. D is a retired Extension Director, and Master Gardener Stephanie Alligood will be joining us later to talk about growing cabbage. All right, Mr. D, we definitely thank Mr. Henry Jones for allowing us to be out here today.
Super nice guy, and they do a great job with peaches and
Yes,
nectarines and apples and strawberries.
All right, so what are we going to do here?
This is a nectarine tree. We treat nectarines, peaches and plums the same way. We prune them to an open-centered system, and this is the way we open up the center.
Oh boy.
You see, this is trying to be a pear or an apple tree. It has a strong central leader here. This is what we do with that.
Oh man, we're just going to take it out like that?
Kind of like that. I'm going to be gentle.
Okay.
Because I don't want to injure any of these other scaffold limbs. We used to say these trees, back in the old days, cost about $2. And they say you take out about $1.80 and leave about a dime's worth, and you're kind of going in the right direction. And so that's what we're doing. Is it looking a little more open?
Oh yeah, there's your dime's worth.
It's a little low here, and we've got 3 scaffold limbs, which is really fine. Really all you need. And you know, I took off a lot of fruit. On a young tree like this, it's much more important to develop the tree, the shape of the tree, than it is to get fruit off of it. You'll have plenty of time to get fruit later on if you take care of it. There we are. How about that?
All right, Mr. D, off to the next tree.
Off to the next tree. Let's do it.
Okay. All right, Mr. D, we have here about a 10-year-old nectarine tree.
And when I walk up to a tree that's got this much age on it, the first thing I look at is it got any broken limbs? And I see this limb right here has got some damage, and so I'm going to take care of that. That's in my mind. I also want to take off everything that's, you know, from my waist down. We call them hanger downers. I want to take all the hanger downers off, and then I'm going to take off everything growing back toward the center. Ideally, I want every limb to have its shot at the sun. And so ideally, I won't have another limb shading another one. I want to take out limbs that are crossing over. And with that being said, I'm going to get in here and go to work.
Oh, he's pulling out the big gun.
Yeah. Okay, this limb has both of the broken limbs on it, I think.
Yeah, it does.
That I saw.
It
so
does.
I'm going to take that off. And I really think I can get to it from here. Actually, this is a little bit easier to handle. Yeah, I'm going to make a little cut on the bottom because I don't want to strip out this tree. And then I'm going to go up again about this is about a ½ inch from the trunk.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? This right here, I want to open up the center a little bit. I'm going to take it off.
All right.
Making these double cuts because I don't want to strip off this bark. Grab it, Chris.
Yeah, I got it.
I don't want to damage the limbs that I'm leaving. Okay, there you are.
I got it. Oh yeah.
And I like the shears that I use I like the scissors cut shears. I don't like the anvil type shears. They do more damage to the limbs. And you need sharp shears. Okay. This is a hanger downer right here. Take it off. All right, now I'm looking at anything growing back toward me, toward the center of the tree. I'm taking that out. I want to be where I can get into this tree from any direction. And I'm really thinking about taking that, that limb out right there, but I'm going to hold off on that right now. I can always do it later. I'm also going to take out any dead limbs, like that's a dead limb right there. Quite a few dead limbs here, little dead limbs that were probably shaded out last year. We'll take those off. All right, I don't like to fight my way into a tree, so I'm going to open it up here a little bit. This is kind of growing back toward the center. Taking that off, this is growing straight up. This limb is crossing over, invading this one's territory a little bit. This one's growing a little bit more upright. Got some damage on it. I'm gonna leave a few of these because there's some nectarines right there I don't want to cut off. This is probably a little low and that's growing back toward the center, so I'm taking that off. That's dead. This is a hanger downer right here, but there's some fruit right there, so I'm gonna take the hanger downer off and let that produce a nectarine for me. Okay. This is growing back toward the center, growing straight up. Limbs that are growing straight up, like these, I consider those water sprouts, and they will not have any fruit. They pretty much rob the tree of nutrition, and they're trying to be the central leader, just like on an apple or a pear tree. So I take the water sprouts out. Anything growing straight up. When you have a lot of small limbs on a branch, I'll go in and like take every other one out to give them a little space. And as I go up on these limbs, I'll pretty much take everything on the top part of the limb that has a tendency to grow straight up. These trees were bred and designed to be pruned, and if you don't prune these improved varieties, if you don't, Mother Nature will. And Mother Nature sometimes doesn't make as clean a cut as I do. She can be rather brutal at times. This is kind of congested here. Get all of these going straight up. Ideally, on a peach or a nectarine, when you're out here to the side, you'd like all of your fruiting wood to be from about your waist to as high as you can reach. Not much higher than as high as you can reach. Keeping in mind that when the fruit are on the tree, the upper limbs are going to come down some. So you can let that, you know, you can be a little higher than you can reach. You can do that. But and you notice I'm making a cut above a limb that's growing in the direction that I want it to go. Okay, Chris, I could work on this all day. You know, it's like a haircut or clipping a show steer, and you always see another limb you could take off, but got it opened up. This tree is really, it started out, you can see all these trees are like peas in a pod. When they started, they cut them off at 18 to 20 inches, and that's how the scaffold limbs came out at the right height. So they've really done a good job with these fruit trees.
All right, we definitely appreciate that pruning demonstration.
All right,
and again, you put in some work on that one.
Yeah, I broke a sweat.
Feeder roots.
Yeah, feeder roots.
You said that one quite a bit.
Man,
Feeder
they
roots.
are really important. Really important. You know, we have two kinds of roots on plants. We have anchor roots and feeder roots. Anchor roots, obviously, you know, are what kind of anchor the plant into the soil. Sure. Just like the stability is what keeps it in the ground when the wind blows. Okay. But feeder roots are what feed the plant. What takes up the nutrients, takes up the water, and they're usually within the top few inches of the soil. And for trees, feeder roots are usually the top 10 to 12 inches. So that's why it's so very important around trees not to compact the soil, heavy equipment over that area, not to dig down, excavate, or fill, because you're messing up those feeder roots, and that's the life of the plant. So they're what feeds the plant.
Hence
And
the
they're
name,
really,
right?
really,
Feeder
yeah,
roots.
real, hence the name. They're real tiny too. They're just
Right.
like little spider webs all in the soil. And when you dig under a big old mature oak tree,
Yeah.
you're gonna find a lot of feeder roots. It's just a mat. That's why a lot of landscapers say, well, you can't plant under a lot of big trees
Right,
because
right.
you've got all those little feeder roots. It's gonna sap everything out first. So.
And the feeder roots pretty much go out to the drip line.
Oh, they
of the
do,
tree.
yeah. On big trees, the canopies, the roots, feeder roots go out is the whole width of that canopy.
Right.
So they're there. Well, if you think about what it would be required to sustain that canopy,
Yeah.
you need
You
a
need
lot
that,
of feeder
right.
roots, yeah. So that's what they do.
All right, Miss Stephanie. We're gonna learn all about cabbage today. Before you get started, Miss Stephanie is a master gardener right here in Shelby County. And again, she's gonna let us know all about cabbage. So where do you want to start, Miss Stephanie?
Well, I guess we'll start at the beginning where cabbage is a member of the cole crop family, which
Okay.
is a huge family of crops that everyone likes to grow in the spring and the fall.
Okay.
It's very nutritious, so it's very popular crop grown all over the world.
Okay.
There's lots of vitamin K, vitamin C, fiber, minerals. So it's a very popular thing to grow, and it's not exactly the easiest thing to grow because all insects want to eat it as well.
Sure. And
And
we'll get
rabbits.
to those insects
And
later.
rabbits.
That's it.
And rabbits too.
And
And
rabbits.
rabbits
Yeah,
too.
and rabbits.
So yeah, it's important to have some kind of barrier for all kinds of critters, rabbits and insects alike. Varieties of cabbage, there's actually 4 different groups. There's the green cabbage that you're used to seeing in the stores. There's red cabbage, which is very similar. There's Savoy cabbage, which is more the crinkly cabbage, which is usually more tender, and maybe you don't cook it quite as much. And then there's lots of Chinese cabbages as well.
Okay.
All the bok choys and the Napa cabbages. As far as planting goes, you're going to want to plant them. They like cool season, so you're going to plant them as fast as possible. Probably mid-February. You could go as much as maybe a week or 2 into April. But it all depends on the variety that you choose, because bigger cabbages might have 115 days to harvest, but you could pick smaller types of cabbage that would only be even 35 days, which is like little mini bok
Short.
choys, or Napa cabbages, which might be only 60 days. So it's important to kind of think about where you live and what the weather's like that year, and pick the one that you wanna grow.
Now, could you start those indoors? Is that a good idea?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay.
Start indoors in the spring for sure. You want to start those January, February,
Okay.
and you'll have them like these growing for 4 to 6 weeks before you even dare put them outside.
Okay. And we could probably get away with putting those outside maybe in April?
Yes.
Could you do that possibly? Okay.
Yes, especially if they're the ones that grow faster.
Okay.
If they're the ones that you'll probably typically see in garden centers or nurseries, they might not make a really full head, but you can test them, and they'll start to head up for you for sure, even if you start them in April in your garden.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about fertilizing. Do you use any fertilizers when you're out there planting your cabbage? Or?
Well, fertilizers are for sure. They're heavy nitrogen feeders, so you want really fertile soil. You want to amend that soil with lots of compost.
Okay.
And we use all different kinds. We'll use well-seasoned, cow or pony manure. We'll use.
Good stuff.
Yeah, we'll use all kinds of just anything that we can get our hands on. Really,
Okay.
we'll get it in the soil before we put the cabbages in the ground.
Okay.
And then about 3 or 4 weeks later, when they're 6 inches tall, we'll side dress with more compost. And then when they start to head up, we'll side dress again, or we'll feed them with liquid nitrogen, like fish emulsion or
Okay.
something.
Now what about planting spacing?
Planting spacing is critical, actually.
Okay.
The really big ones that you'll see in the garden centers, you'll want them planted 18 inches, even 24 inches apart. Because as they get bigger, you're going to want to be able to turn the leaves over and look for the insects.
Okay, sure.
And make sure the stems are healthy and make sure they have room just to grow.
Now, here's the important question. How do you know when it's time to harvest?
Well, it's all about watching them grow, and you'll actually test the head and see that they're kind of solid. If they'll look like they're ready to harvest, but you'll kind of give them a squeeze test and see if they're solid or not. If they still have a lot of give, then you want to wait another week or two.
Okay. Now let's get to those pests while we have a little time left. So what's the major pest of cabbage?
The major pest of cabbage is definitely the cabbage worm,
Oh,
cabbage
there it goes.
looper.
And Mr. D is over there nodding his head. Yeah. There you go.
As soon as you see the little white butterflies flitting around, you need to do something because they are already there. You need to be proactive against those, and we like to use BT at the garden. And so once a week, once every 2 weeks at the very most, we'll spray. It's safe even on harvest day to spray it, but we like to spray it like the day after any harvest, so just to be doubly sure. And if it rains a lot, you might want to think about going out and spraying it
Right,
again.
sure. Okay, what other pests?
Other pests are cutworms. When you first put them in the ground, they're like little grubs, little worms that come out of the soil, and they'll just cut the cabbage straight off at the soil line. And you'll go out into the garden and cry a little bit, but you'll just have to replace it.
Yeah.
Some people say you can put like little barriers around it, like maybe a little tuna can that you've taken the top and the bottom off and sink it in. I like just walk the garden at all different times of day. So I know that the cutworms are going to be active in the evening. So go out there in the evening and just kind of look at each one and make sure there isn't a suspect.
Yeah, the cutworm is something else. So how big do they need to get before you're out of the woods, with the cutworm?
We usually don't worry about them after they get about 6 inches tall or so. So maybe 3 weeks or so.
Well, let's talk quickly. How about aphids? How do y'all deal with the aphids out there?
Aphids, we just kind of watch them, and we'll spray them with water if it's not too bad. We'll also put neem oil spray on it once a week, probably usually the same time we do BT.
Okay, what about the harlequin bug? That one is pretty tough.
The harlequin bug, that's made me cry many a day.
It's a pretty bug.
It's a pretty bug.
Yeah,
it's like a mean-looking ladybug, about twice the size, and really all you can do is pick them off. It's a member of the stink bug family, so don't squash them. Throw them.
Two bricks. I knew he was going to say
Watch your thumb.
Just
bricks.
squash them.
Two bricks. I knew he was waiting to say it.
We like to either like throw them as far as we can, or we put them in a bucket of water with some soap or something.
Harlequin bugs are tough. And what about those old flea beetles?
Flea beetles, they also are tough, although, a lot of times we'll just put some kind of barrier on the ground so they can't have a little bit harder time to reach the cabbage leaves.
Okay.
But neem oil would work as well.
Okay. And lastly, how about the cabbage maggots?
Cabbage maggots, we haven't had trouble with those at the garden.
Yeah,
a lot of that is just rotating your cabbages around, making sure you don't have a lot of decomposing material in the ground. And that's what we try to do, is we keep our garden pretty tidy, and we move the cabbages from season to season to different spots.
All right then, Miss Stephanie. The folks need to come on out to Collierville Victory Garden and see how you grow these wonderful cabbage.
Well, thank you, and I hope to see you.
All right. Thanks for being here.
Okay, I'm about to control some scale, or try to control some scale on this Crepe Myrtle. And I have here in this sprayer a dormant oil solution, and that is what we recommend at this time of the year to control Crepe Myrtle scale. Keep in mind when you use a dormant oil solution that you keep it supported, that it stays in solution. It will tend to settle out. So shake it up from time to time when you're spraying. Now, I'm going to spray to the point of runoff as far up as I can reach, realizing that this is a large crepe myrtle, very large. I'm going to pay special attention to the trunk and lower limbs. Okay, this, as I mentioned, is a dormant oil product in the jug. And the only time that you'll have a problem using that is if there's a hard freeze forecast within the next 48 hours. It's important that the water carrier in this solution has time to evaporate before you get into any real cold weather conditions. Good coverage, it's important.
All right, here's our Q&A session. Miss Stephanie, you jump in there and help us out, all right? All right, here's our first question. How do you feel about using horse manure in your garden beds? Now, wait a minute, Mr. D, before you jump in here. Didn't you just mention pony manure?
I did.
So you think it's a good idea to use horse manure in
Well,
your garden beds?
The pony manure that we got our hands on is like 10 years old.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's not new by any stretch of the imagination. It doesn't smell like anything.
Right.
So we were very happy to see it arrive at the garden.
Right, and I'm sure your plants were happy too, right?
Yes, they have been so far.
Okay.
And we still have a pile of it, so we're excited.
All right, don't give out their location now.
That's right.
All
We'll
right.
move it.
Yeah. All right, Mr. D. Sounds like it's a good idea to use
That sounds like a
it.
good idea, if it's that old.
Oh, yeah.
And I've pulled up an extension publication that's from Maine and quotes some Washington State
Okay.
information, and it's really some really good, one of the best publications I've seen on using manure. And if you have fresh manure, you need to wait 120 days before you harvest. So basically, you're talking about putting it out in the fall before you even plant your cool
Okay.
season crops. You know, and according to USDA guidelines for organic farming, I think you have to wait 90 days for plants that could possibly come in contact with the manure, like radishes or, some of the leaf plants that might come in contact with it. I think even the processed or composted manure, there's a 90-day
Wow.
recommended waiting period. So if you use manure, and it is a good soil amendment, but if you use it, make sure, if you buy it in the bags, make sure it's pathogen-free. If it's pathogen-free, that means it's been composted well. If it goes through the composting process and the internal temperature gets up to 140 degrees, that will kill the bacteria. But if you don't do that, keep in mind that these manures can contain listeria, E. coli, H157, H7 or whatever, and salmonella. And most of the food recalls that we hear of involve those organisms. So be very, very careful. If you're using the manures, make sure that you follow these guidelines.
Wow. Good stuff. Yeah, you're right about those food recalls, huh?
Right. And I was thinking, it also, this publication says don't allow your pets, do not use dog, cat, or pig manure in a garden, because the organisms that live in those, that manure lasts longer.
So the horse manure is good, cow manure, chicken
As
manure?
long as it's composted or processed.
Composted.
Right.
All right, good deal. All right, so here's our next question. My maple tree has a Y at the top of the trunk. There's a slightly bigger branch and a slightly smaller branch. While the tree is smaller, should I prune off the smaller branch so the tree will not split when it is large? And this is from Nathan. You see the picture there? What are you thinking there, Mr. D?
You know me.
I know
if
you.
the question is to prune or not to
Yeah,
prune, I
I know
say
you.
prune. I would take it off. I definitely would take that limb off and go ahead with a strong central leader, because if you have a sharp angle, just go ask any Bradford pear tree. If you have a sharp angle, then you get the wind from the right direction, it's going to split off, and it's going to really make the tree look bad when that happens. It may survive, but you're still going to look bad. You can go out there right now on that maple tree, and you can make a nice smooth cut, and by the end of this next year, you won't hardly even know that there ever was a limb there, because that tree will compensate and it'll balance up, and you're just going to, likely, you're going to be warding off a problem. And I would do that with just about any.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, would you do that for?
Almost any tree that's out there.
Yeah, you probably do. Yeah, I'm sure you would.
I would.
I'm sure you would. To prune or not to prune? It's the question.
I just think I do a much better job of pruning than Mother Nature does.
Yeah.
Mother Nature's she's gonna do her pruning, and when she's ready.
Right.
And if you have good, more level angles, closer to 90-degree angles on those limbs, you know, the trees are going to do fine. Just go check out the live oak trees down on the Gulf Coast.
That's right.
You know, they go through hurricanes and they're still standing.
Yeah.
And they have 90-degree angles, so that's what you want.
Yeah, you're right, because Mother Nature's going to
There were two limbs,
break them off.
two lower limbs on that tree. One of them was coming out at 90 degrees, the other one was going up at about 45.
Yeah.
And that 90-degree limb's fine to leave that. That'd be a good place to put a swing one of these days.
Huh.
You know?
About that. Okay.
And that's the kind of limb that will hold the swing. You put a swing with two different size chains on that 45-degree angle, you're going to break it off.
Right.
You know?
So there you have it, Nathan. You can get a swing out of the deal. How about that?
Yeah, yeah.
You
It's
put it
coming.
correctly.
It's coming.
All right, Miss Stephanie, Mr. D, that's all we have time for today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good deal.
Remember, we love to hear from you. Send us an email or letter. The email address is familyplot@wkno.org, and the mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee 38016. Or you can go online to familyplotgarden.com. That's all we have time for today. To get more information on things we talked about on today's show, go to familyplotgarden.com. Thanks for watching. I'm Chris Cooper. Be sure to join us next week for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.